Hey guys, welcome back. This is the final section of this project. So this is the Foliage Part 2 and also the conclusion of the project. Apologies for not being able to do like a voice narration over the previous videos. I've had the serious case of man flu. I'm just about over it but not quite. So I thought for the last video here there's quite a lot that's been covered here. So I thought it would make sense to do the voice narration now that my voice is back. So as you can see here, this is where we're at the moment. So we've got the house, rather the houses in place. We've got the ground, some of the grass patches for the house, and also some of the flowers. So we're gonna finish this up by adding the last parts of the foliage and other things just to kind of spruce up the environment and give it that finish. So we'll jump straight into the time lapse. Okay, so we're just jumping straight back into the texture here. And moving on to the fence texture. So I create two different wood colours just for variation because I don't want all the fences to look the same. And I've got the kind of the stud that I put in there as well. And then I move on to the tree branch here, or rather trunk, sorry. That'll be used for the tree, and also this is a vine texture that I was going to use, but I don't think I ended up using it at the end. Then I next move on to the leaves, create two different variations of that, and also change the shape of the one on the left there. And I jump straight back into 3ds Max, and I start creating the flowers. So what I like to do is I just create a plane, then I create the shape based on the texture. So then that way you don't have any problems with transparency or anything like that when you throw it into the game engine. You won't get any weird shadows or anything like that. So I do that with all the flowers here. They're just planes really. Since they're going to be quite small, there's no point putting too much detail in there. But I do that for all of them because I'm going to use that to break up the scene there. You'll see that in the sort of intro picture there, the flowers are already there, but that's pretty much what happens. I get the flowers in there. That's the sort of initial stage that I finish. So I'm just putting them about the scene here in Unreal Engine 4. Just to help try and break up the ground and create more interest there. And since the camera's going to be at a fixed angle, I'm just making sure that the flowers are looking towards that direction, so we're getting more out of them there. So next here I'm looking at the tree trunk. I make it quite thin. It's almost like a palm tree kind of thing that I was wanting to go for here. So I'm just creating out different variations in the tree trunk shape there. Once I do that, I just copy and paste the trunk, then move the shapes about to create the branches, and then I cut out the leaves here, just what I did with the flowers before. So I'm just breaking that down. Again, I like to keep it quite simple, just simple planes, because I'm thinking about how the shadow's going to project when the direction light hits it. So it shouldn't be a problem if you take this approach rather than using alpha maps or anything like that. So I create the first tree here, and I've just exported it out, and then I just thin the top of the tree there because it didn't look too good there. So I'm just placing it in the scene, and I'm just trying to get it right. So you can see that the shadows on the ground there aren't always perfect, so I create a second UV map slot, and just as you can see there, I then create a light map UVs for that. So I'm adjusting the ground light map resolution so that the shadows will project correctly. So this is a kind of jumping back and forth kind of thing, just trying to get that right. So here I've got the second tree that I'm making as well because I want more variation again. So I'm just using the existing models, and then I'm just moving them about, and then in here I'm just planting them about the environment until I get something that I'm happy with. And also the grass patches that I use for the house, I put them under the trees as well. Again, it helps break up that kind of plain green that's in the main ground there. Again, here I'm just sorting out the light maps as well, ensuring that the shadows are going to project properly. So then I just populate the scene there, just to make it more of a kind of a forest town area, if that's what you'd like to call it. And then once I've done the trees, I start moving on to the bushes. So I'm just using the existing leaves and just doing that to create the bushes there. So I create two different variations there. Again, I'm always wanting variation. I don't want anything to look too obvious. It's just been copy and pasted. So I'll bring these into the environment, and then I realise that one of the bushes just doesn't quite look good. It looks too flat. So I then break it down and restructure it again, and then I bring them back in there. Again, I like to just keep them simple planes. That way the shadows look good once they're brought into the environment there. So I'm just dotting them about the place, just placing them about, creating more visual interest. And then I'm working more with the trees there again. Next, I'm moving on to the stepping stones, or the paths. So again, it helps break up the ground, but also kind of helps establish just where the walking areas and things like that, so that it's not just grass. So I'm trying to get that kind of balance of sort of man-made but natural kind of objects within the environment. So I start placing them down, and I notice at the start here that the normals on the stones aren't quite correct, so that's why you're getting that kind of weird grey blocky look on the rocks there. It doesn't look like the sun's hitting them properly. So I'm really just going through here and trying to figure out what's wrong, and it turns out that it's because I removed the planes below the stones, so there's no polygon faces there, and that's why they looked really flat and looked really kind of plain there. So I'm just messing about with the normals here, just trying to get right. But what I do is I end up just creating the stones again, and then just reshaping them, creating 4 different variations, and then I bring them back into the Unreal Engine. And this is where I start building the path here. So I like to, for contrast, I like to create different shapes here. I don't want them all to look the same, because I think they look quite boring. So I'm always trying to think that everything that I'm doing, I'm wanting to make sure that nothing looks the same, or if there are similar objects, that they all have a variation to them. So I'm connecting them up to the house at the back, and then the house at the left there. And what I'm keeping in mind is when the camera's going to be at the fixed angle, I'm wanting to make sure, like here, that the path's lined up nice and you can see it clearly. So next I move on to the fence posts. So I just create a simple single post there, because it's quite hard to read if you add any more than one post. So again, I've got 2 different kinds of wood that I'm using for the fences here, and 2 different shapes, just to create some more interest. So then I'm creating the fences and just putting them right around the houses. I do that for each one of them. And just at the foreground there, I just add another tree there, because I realise that it's kind of quite empty there. So as you can see, I'm just finishing off, and I'm breaking up some of the fences there. I didn't want them all to just look nice and connected, so I wanted some broken up fences as well. So I'm just looking at the scene, just thinking how I can make it different there. But just at the last part here, I then create the clouds, and I use just a simple, just kind of 3-tone kind of style here purely because it's stylized. You know, I want it quite bold and very easy to read. So first I think, well, I'm gonna just cut it out and then reshape it, but it would take a long time, and it's not really worth it since light's not going to really bounce off the clouds anyway. It doesn't matter, so I just stick to a plane like I'm doing here, put them in place. I then add a alpha mask in the texture so that it removes the white background for the clouds there, and then when I throw it into the final scene, it'll look fine. So I'm just setting up the material there for the cloud, and I'm just putting them in place now, just so you're getting that feeling that there is a sky at the back. And that's when I really conclude it from there, and that's that. So this is the final result. I put the cloud texture into the emissive slot just so it looks more white, because just in the previous section there it looked really grey and it didn't really stand out too well. And then eventually what I did was I just played the map via the viewport, and then just created a high-res screenshot, so we got this final image. I then just done some tweaks to the lights and things just to get it right and make it look a bit more brighter. So that really concludes the this project. So I hope you had a lot of fun looking at my process that I go around to creating all that. It was good fun for me, and also I learned a lot while I was doing it. And yeah, so that's that pretty much finished now. I think I'll be moving on to other things. But thanks for watching this video, and I'll speak to you very soon.